What, how, or what, or where did the Olympic Stadium running come from?
Oh, you mean my experience with it?
Where has this came from? Because I was doing my research on you and I came across it, and I was just looking at it in absolute mesmerization. Like, how has this man ran the Olympic
Oh,
Stadium?
it's so cool. So just to kind of preface, I'm not an Olympic level athlete. I did aspire to be at one point, but you know, I don't like the excuse of genetics, but your genetics can only take you so far. So yeah, so basically, I was part of a relay team in my local city. So every year in about May, sort of May time, they do. Hey, sorry, I cut out there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Cool.
can hear you. I'm not having any luck today with this
So
place.
yeah, so they did like county championships, and we had trained for a relay. And the thing with the relay is you could either be really fast, and you've got no baton changes, or am I still here?
You're
Oh,
still
okay, cool.
here.
Or you can get some really smooth baton changes, but you don't have as much speed. So in my case, I wasn't as fast, but we all practiced and we generated a ton of speed. Um, we generated some really smooth baton changes. So basically, we ended up winning the county championships. So we were under 20s. We also beat the men's in the county championships as well. So we beat the senior men's. So a bunch of 17 to 19-year olds beat every other male relay team in the county. So basically, they selected the top 8 teams to kind of open up for an event at the Olympic Stadium. I think this was 2017. And we were ninth place. And the eighth place people couldn't actually make it to the event. So we got selected. So we ended up having the chance to run and kind of open up for an event before all of the other athletes arrived there. So, yeah, that's kind of my story of how I got there. It was a really great experience. I loved it.
Yeah, it was so different seeing it because it's so like you don't hear many people that open for an Olympic event. But something I wanted to ask you about in it was, this may sound so stupid because it sounds so simple in my head. What is the training like to be like a relay runner or a runner in general? Is it as simple as running?
I mean, there's loads that go into it, and it's the same as any kind of sport where there's a lot of different coaching philosophies. But basically, I did 400, so it was I struggled with the basic speed, but I could kind of sustain myself. And I know that like the shorter the distance, the more kind of strong and explosive you want to be. So 100 runners would just do mostly speed work, lifting weights. You'd be shocked at the amount of technique that goes into it. I spent 1 year just working on technique, barely any other actual training, and I dropped my time by about 10%. It was nuts. So you've got, I think it was called the five S's. So you've got strength, speed, stamina, style, which is your technique, and then suppleness, which is like flexibility and mobility. So yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it than what you think. And again, tons of science that is kind of a little bit beyond me. Um, but yeah, so much more than you think.
Did you learn anything from maybe the better performers on the men's team, or maybe the better performers in the race that you took part in itself? Did you learn anything from watching those people that were just outstanding at that activity?
I think I think what I learned is they're all from different. So they're all from different countries, different backgrounds, um, and they've probably all been trained differently. There are some people who have probably run on dirt tracks for the first 5, 10 years of training. There are probably other people who have been at some prestigious university that has all the facilities they need. So um, there's there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that all of those people would have come from a different place, but they all ended up at the same place because A, they're talented, but B, they would have worked much harder than I did at the time to get to that place. So I think for me, it kind of made me realize, well, maybe I won't get to that place, on a, starting blocks, for example. But if you think about, if you think about someone in the money space on Twitter and they've just hit their first million, you've got some people who are from rich families, poor families. You've got people from the UK, US, South Africa, Australia, India, China, all over the place. And they've all done things differently, but the end result has still been the same. So that's probably the biggest thing that I learned from, seeing all of those people.